You're listening to the Insurance Podcast with Pete Tessier and Kurt Wyatt. Brought to you by First Insurance Funding of Canada, the innovator in insurance payments.
Hey, everyone. There hasn't been an episode of the Insurance Podcast for some time. So we thought we'd make our return to broadcast a bit of a video one here. And because we shot a lot of video down at ITC. And right after ITC, Kurt, where were we?
Yeah, hey, we cruised up to Toronto and hit the IBAO conference, which, as we always call it, the 800-pound gorilla of brokers conferences in Canada. And you know what? It didn't let us down. I think a record attendance, was it, Pete?
Yeah, it was record attendance, and it's very fascinating to go from a conference like ITC and then roll right into a broker conference. But more about the broker conference later on. Right now, we're going to talk to you a little bit about ITC and what the heck happened there. Kurt, where do you want to start with that? Because,
well, let's start with the amount of money I lost at craps and how much you won. Like, okay. Not that I'm bitter.
No,
let's face it. I was reviewing my bank statements and it wasn't good. Like, they've got to get rid of those ATM machines.
Yeah, they shouldn't put them by the craps table, right?
No, but or near me.
Or aside from gambling, I think,
of course, there was a conference, and
it was a big one. And it was a big one, and it was utterly amazing.
Hey, listen, over 9,000 delegates, Pete.
Yeah. But the themes were fascinating, Kurt, because I guess this is kind of like our 5-year anniversary of going there, right? And what did you notice from 5 years ago?
There's no question, Pete, that the organizers have embraced what is Insuretech today versus what it was in 2019. It is very different and in a better way. I think it's more inclusive. They've broadened the reach of their audience, and so kudos to them, right? Because let's face it, it's not a new event anymore by any means, and we're going to get into that with the episode you're going to publish after this intro. Yeah.
We're going to talk a lot about different things, and I think one of the great parts of this time at Insuretech Connect was we got to actually revisit some old friends, and probably one of the best ones was Matthew Jones from Transverse.
Yeah.
Before was with a different investment company, but being able to talk to Matthew, Kurt, about what he was looking at and doing in 2019 to 2024 is a fascinating jump of how the smart money and the big money looks at the industry.
Yeah, for sure. And in addition to him, we were fortunate that we've had some great friendships down at ITC, returning this year in the likes of a different team member, but Bob Girakis from Rival.
Rival
we
IT.
even had a chance to a local, local Canadian-based tech insurance company, BMS, that was there. I mean, they're reinventing themselves. What a better place to be than that at ITC, qualifying and making sure that they're heading in the right direction, which clearly they are.
Yeah, I think, you're going to see content coming down the pipe from us with all sorts of sort of themes and everything from the 15 different exclusive interviews we did. It was a busy time for the podcast. I don't know if we worked any smarter, but we sure as heck worked harder. But, one of the things that I think was interesting is you have these ideas that pop up and maybe you don't know they exist. But one of the ones, Kurt, that I found really interesting was a number of the data companies were focusing in on fraud. And we learned down there that there is a cat loss of fraud committed every day in terms of dollar value across the entire United States. That's just a shocking amount of money that is lost to fraud.
Yeah, for sure. And there's some smart tools coming out to, help point everyone in the right direction so that there isn't time wasted trying to determine what isn't fraud.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of good people out there and a lot of good people getting hurt for a variety of reasons. need insurance, and by no means does anybody want to see the system pull back and be less accommodating. It already has a bit of a black eye for that, right? And so, the last thing you want to do is make it look even worse by saying, well, everyone's a fraud, right? But interestingly enough, that isn't what we're hearing. Rather, we're hearing, hey, let's use some of these really cool tools that are coming out and make insurance affordable in the future for everybody.
Yeah, deal with the loss runs that are controllable, not the ones from events, and that's refreshing. I think the other refreshing thing, Kurt, is 5 years ago when we went down there, the message from industry who was at Insuretech Connect was saying, agents and brokers, you're an endangered species.
And that's not the message anymore.
No, you're our partner.
You're a partner.
And you're stronger than ever.
To the point that the first day starts off now with an afternoon dedicated just to agents and brokers. So for any of those agents and brokers who take in the insurance podcast, you guys, this is for you. This is not an event. This is not a technology event any longer.
No.
This is not a place where you send your IT specialist from your office or somebody who, she handles the computers person. This is an industry event today. And we get into that with Nick later on in this show, where, kudos to ITC. They've had to morph this thing into something bigger. They have. And we've been the good fortune of enjoying the ride.
Absolutely. And I think, it talks about one of the other major themes is partnerships. And we wouldn't be able to do this without our sponsor and partner, which is First Insurance Funding of Canada. And First Pay is First Canada's easy to implement suite of APIs. You can integrate all methods of payment into your workflow, app, website, or portal, increase your efficiency, and close business faster. So provide bespoke payments at the point of sale, close your business faster while improving your client experience. And you can trust the secure and in-market solutions from the leader in insurance payments, First Canada. Kurt,
we like those guys. They're good.
We like those guys.
And they threw a great party at the last night of the IBAO conference in Toronto. Live band, drummers from
Pink. Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, incredible. So, hey, and in addition to First Insurance Funding of Canada, we're also very grateful for our other sponsor, which is Take On Risk, the MGA that specializes in hard to place and complex commercial risks. So when you have something tough, throw it their way. In addition to being able to handle and work with you as a retail broker, they're the MGA that has the 5-year guarantee, which means you're not going to run out of capacity at year 2 or 3 when it comes to a risk that's been placed with Take On. So call them up, learn about the 5-year guarantee, and hey, make a great solution for your policyholders.
Yeah, 100%. Kurt, we can talk about our sponsors and all our friends, but hey, we know what the audience wants. They want to hear a little bit about what's going on with ITC. And I can't think of a better way to do it than to segue in and get into our interview kind of on the last day of the trade show that we shot on the trade show floor with Nick Lamparelli, our good buddy, and someone who we've met in person 5 years ago at our first ITC. So let's slide in with our interview with Nick and go from there.
Well. Look who we ran into on the conference floor at ITC 2024. The man himself, Nick Lamparelli, the guy who I often quote with a tweet that I screenshotted and saved in my photos. A ship at harbor is safe, but that's not what ship's for. Underwriters of risk, your job is to price risk accurately, and I can't remember the rest of it, but it's totally true. Nick, how the hell are you, buddy?
I'm great. The ironic thing was I was packing up my stuff to go over to visit them to have this conversation, and they came walking around the corner. So I reset up my gear. Yeah. Let's do this. What are we talking about?
So hey, how has ITC been for you? Like what are your takes so far?
So we've been to this many years.
Yes.
Okay.
We're saying 5.
Okay, so let's say 5 years. Yeah. I don't think I went to the first one. I think I started at the second one, and so on. So it's evolved significantly. Like before the pandemic, this was like a FOMO type of thing. You came just because everybody else came. Mm-hmm. Then the pandemic hit, and it kind of put a plateau on it. So I kind of thought ITC would be over. Like, okay, it had its day.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not the thing it used to be. Last year was like phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like
Last year
came
was
here,
big.
came thousands of people. I'm like, whoa, this thing's big. But last year I saw strategy being executed.
Yes.
I saw buyers and sellers of technology doing due diligence and work. So this wasn't like, hey, let's walk around and find out what everybody at every booth is doing. This was like, we know who we want to talk to. We're going to go. We've already been investigating them. We're going to have a deeper conversation. Maybe this will turn into a lunch or a dinner or a breakfast or a happy hour. It was much more strategic, and that is carried over to this year with more people. Like, I have to give kudos to ITC.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It was early days of ITC where, they're getting their feet underneath them. This was so well done.
Yeah.
This year, like none of them are perfect, but this was so well done.
What we thought was interesting about this year, especially, is the focus back on agent and broker, right? Because if you go pre-pandemic, it was disrupt the system. It's not being sold right. Agents and brokers don't know what they're doing. And here, we even have a day now committed to agents and brokers, right? So, hey, the system's not broke, but it needs help. We need to digitize things, which is fine. Let's make it better, but let's not have them at the table. Like, these agents and brokers are here, they're present, and prior to that, they weren't present.
I'll even frame it this way: if there's an agent or broker who's present here, that's a elite agent or broker. They know what they're doing, right? Like there's something significant. That's a tell.
Yeah.
On who they are and what their firm is about. So I had this conversation with Alex DePazzo yesterday, and he said the same thing. He said, like, there's going to be a time where agents and brokers have to come to this. One, they need the technology.
Yeah.
Right. They have a seat at the table when it comes to insurance, because I think, as we all know, you can digitize this all day long. At some point or another, consumer's going to want to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And not just an AI.
It's not the product you buy online.
And the carriers are here. Like, this is still a place where business and meetings can get done. So for an agent or broker, this might be the one conference where we can get, where all the stakeholders are coming, or many of the stakeholders.
Reinsurers here. Yeah. We're seeing captives. We had drinks the other day with a captive manager from the Cayman Islands and his underwriting person. So we're getting people flying in from all over the world for this event. Yep. Yeah. That's a big change.
It's a huge change.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that's super interesting is, you go back 3 or 4 years, there was a lot of tech that was sitting kind of higher level, people ready to spend money. Now you see a lot more of it, particularly for underwriting and risk management, that is very similar, but targeting niches and stuff, and so many more. So where there were five companies doing it, now there's 50, and of all different shapes and forms. And I think that's interesting, that the risk management and rating and dealing with risk data has caught up so much comparatively.
You didn't say the word.
What word?
Well, the word AI. You didn't put AI there. Come on.
I don't want to put AI there.
How could you not put AI there?
Jeez,
like, it's got to be in every sentence now.
No, it doesn't. Because you know what the other thing is? Okay, here's the other thing that we heard a lot of. AI's here. We know it, everyone, but we're going to just watch for a little bit, because one, we're not worried about taking jobs, but two, we got to make sure it's actually going to do what it's going to do. Now, all of these companies that have said, we're using AI, we're going to change the game, they've got to prove that they are, and it's actually going to deliver. Because there's still a lot of conceptual stuff that's doing it, how it's baked in, but there's a lot of significant entities saying AI is simply something we got to watch for a little bit to see how we want to use it.
I was interviewed this morning, and it's like, AI is game changer. It's gonna. This is not the blockchain.
No.
This is not like we have to find a use case. It seems clear and obvious. I haven't felt this excited about a particular technology or this certain since I discovered Google search. Right, like you land there, it's like, oh my.
Alta Vista. How old are you?
Alta Vista. You use Alta Vista, and it's like the first 15 are in Chinese or some Sanskrit.
I'm going back to like 1992 though.
Yeah, but then you get exposed to Google, and it's like, whoa,
it worked.
this is exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah,
I didn't think there was a thing that could do this.
Yeah.
AI has changed everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think it's amusing to see or hear people like whispering about how they're using AI. Like, I wrote my article using
Yeah,
AI.
right.
I get ideas from AI. Like, but the use cases are obvious, right?
Yeah.
As let's just take agents and brokers. We had a conversation with someone about how, as a former broker, when I was a junior broker, I was responsible for taking this year's policy and last year's policy and figuring out
Connecting the dots.
what's different, what changed, what did they remove something from the submission. That's mind-numbing stuff. Like even I think a ChatGPT can solve that problem right away with very little risk and with efficiency right away. So we already know like this is probably already happening.
Yeah.
It's already being used, and I think most firms in the insurance ecosystem are smart enough to know we can't underwrite with this stuff yet.
Right.
We can't price with this stuff yet.
No.
It's not there yet. And I think there are people that know that for insurance specific stuff, right, where you're not just like looking at last year's policy language with this one, but like, is this covered? ChatGPT is not good enough.
No,
right? Like
it's not good enough.
You need something trained in insurance.
But where the AI is making a difference, and you hit it right away, is the repetitive, mundane tasks. Get it to get the data in a usable form without a human having to do it, and then let the human explain why the changes are there and what it means to the policyholder. So what we hear a lot about, and I've seen Ryan Hanley speak about it, I've seen Jason Cass talk about it, and even Canada's own Jeff Roy, they talk about human optimized experience. So they show the layers of RPA, digital assistance, AI assistance, and stuff like this. And at the end, you have this AI, you have this human. Here's the problem with that, though. And I think this is what we've already seen a canary in the coal mine with automation within insurance companies, when all of a sudden they couldn't find any underwriters and underwriting all ground to a halt. Maybe this is a Canadian thing, but man, it was bad in 2020. And that wasn't just a COVID thing. There were just no underwriters to be found. What happened is all the IP, as Kurt likes to say, that sits up here, left. It retired, it moved on, it did things. Where do you get that top human? You want the unicorn person. So what we've done is we're going to automate all those stepping stones that we get to get the experience. And we have to be able to capture that experience and get that human, that top level human up there. That's the question I want to see answered.
So that, other industries have starting to tackle this. It's called knowledge management.
Yeah.
Right. That's the problem. Is there's knowledge in your firm, but how most firms think of knowledge management is like, where's all of our knowledge?
Yeah.
And let's put it in a Wikipedia, and then people will find it. It's like that breaks down so quickly because of the example you gave. So I work with a company where we discuss this. They're Canadian, so they do knowledge management. And we had to create a fictitious person to try to explain this to the insurance industry, a person called Greta. Greta is that person that's worked for your business for 30 years. Yeah. They know where all the bodies are buried. They know how everything works. And most of that stuff's not documented. Yeah. If Greta walks out the door, you're going to have to reverse engineer every little thing and wait. It's completely inefficient. Yeah. The problem with a lot of this stuff, so take a top-notch producer, a top-notch underwriter, a top-notch claims professional. A lot of times, they don't realize the knowledge they have. They don't realize the wisdom that they have. Yeah. You guys have been on the production side of business. How many times have you looked at an account and just like instinctually knew this is a egg? Yeah. We're going after this one, and it kind of worked out. But you can't explain it.
No,
it's just like decades of experience of like having made mistakes. It's that tacit knowledge. How do we get that out of your head? You can't. It's more than just like
underwriting edits. Yeah, it's more than just underwriting edits, right? That's where,
teach me how you do what you do.
Yeah.
It's because they don't exactly know either. Yeah. And it takes a lot of work and manipulation to get that tacit knowledge out. And then you use the AI to get it in the fingertips of other people. Here's a great example. A very large US firm, one of the big ones, when Helene hit North Carolina, and we had all of that inland flooding in the mountain areas.
Yeah.
Unexpected.
Right. From the
Okay.
rains. Yeah.
And they needed a bunch of claims adjusters. So what they used third parties, but they ran out. They brought claims adjusters from the auto division over. Okay. I hope you can sniff where this is going.
Yeah.
The auto claims adjusters go over. Well, flood is covered for auto. So guess what they're thinking?
Flood is covered on.
Flood is covered on homeowners as well, because they don't have the information at their fingertips. The information's there. It could be at a wiki, but if someone can't find it quickly, we have a knowledge management problem in so many different dimensions, including getting like.
So how do you get Greta? How do you reproduce Greta and get her knowledge out? What's the solution?
You have to identify who Greta is, and every department has Greta.
Yeah.
They might have multiple Gretas.
Oh yeah.
Okay. You have to identify the Gretas, and then it is not like a one-time we're going to sit down and like get everything out of you.
Yeah.
This is a long-term, like you're probably going to have to get Greta to like teach, like have like a internal brown bag lunch session. You're going to have to get Greta to begin to look internally and recognize, oh, I didn't know I was doing that, right? And have someone tag along to see like, ooh, like why did you say those particular words in this sales pitch, right?
Yeah.
This underwriting file, you saw something that immediately turned you off and you pinched your nose. Walk me through that. So you're going to have to spend some time with the Gretas and sort of massage that tacit knowledge out of their collective wisdom.
And I mean, I've been taking that advice. What's here in tech? Like, let's take this to ITC then. What's here to collect that and put it in a depository in a way where people can search it? We got Joel here from Pro Navigator.
Yeah.
He's doing stuff with wordings, right? And
Pro Navigator is the one I was thinking of.
I knew exactly who you were going to say.
So,
it was
like he's more or less building the
he's been
Is
trying
there-
to conquer
is there
that
other
for a while.
versions of it as it relates to things like you said, underwriting, claims. Like where else can we be putting this stuff?
So I only know of Pro Navigator that's specifically tackling this problem specifically for insurance and they're in a specific way. So that's the only one I know.
Good on Joel.
But when Joe and I work on content, part of it is like, well, not everyone's going to become a Pro Navigator customer. So how would another firm go about doing this? And so there are wikis. There are technologies, and I bet every CTO that's dealing with this looks at knowledge management like that's not a problem.
Right.
Like we can build a wiki. We can use Notion. We can use a project manager. Like they're thinking of it from like a coding perspective. What technology tools?
Right. Yeah.
Those technology tools are not going to help you with like sorting through Slack. Right. And finding out what are the common questions that just keep popping up. That's just like annoying, or Teams, or what are the common questions our policyholders keep asking, right? Pro Navigator has a year in search, and when I helped them analyze that year in search, what we found was there was some seasonality, right? So all of a sudden in the fall, in the mid-fall in Canada, there's a whole bunch of activity around auto questions. Why? Well, it has to do with the auto industry in Canada, and you guys are approaching the winter season.
People are replacing their cars.
Should we change the tire? There's a lot of questions around what do we do with the car, or what do we make a car safe, or how is my insurance going to be impacted?
Maybe it's a summer car.
What are we going to do with this stuff? So there's a lot of questions. That is where you can get knowledge management. It's because like the customers are asking these questions. How are we answering them, and can we proactively answer the question so the customer doesn't have to ask it? Like put it on a wiki, whatever, so the customer can use AI to quickly get that information at their fingertips.
Or the new broker who ends up getting the customer has an easy AI solution that's almost like a GPT interface into the own wiki that says, hey, here we go. Well, there's a great company who started doing that. We met them last year. They're called Indem.ai. Fantastic guys, young guys. Definitely check them out. But yeah, it's all there. It's just someone's got to start connecting the dots, right? And sort of saying, okay, we got to get this to talk to there. And we got to get Greta to spill her guts out.
And that's where this event is well done, in that your point is get all the stakeholders in one place. Let it be Vegas, because who doesn't like Vegas?
I can't
have
think of
these
another.
conversations.
I can't think of another conference that's not
Yeah.
siloed.
Right.
You know, it's not like a claims conference,
Yeah,
an
right.
underwriting conference,
broker
brokers, a catastrophe conference. This is the only one that's like, there are catastrophe folks, there are broker folks, there are claims folks, there are aerial folks, there are knowledge management
so
folks.
then-
Like they're all here.
So then why did we have to do that under the umbrella of technology? Like, why was it that we picked this as the venue? Because maybe the venue didn't pick us as much as we all started to pick this as the place to come. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was like there was interest there. Well, I think it's because insurance was ready to be changed using digital to help fix problems. And people started to come, and it's now morphed into its own sort of culture from what everybody's seeing.
People are used to doing what they're doing. Like even when you ask me that question, I'm pushing up my glasses that I'm not wearing right now because that's what I just do all the time, right?
Here we thought you had like a Twitch or something.
So, you know, when Insuretech became, like, we've been around long enough, we were debating whether Insuretech should have an E or not.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right.
So it became a thing. It became hot. Everyone was talking about it. And that got the initial launch of this thing. Things have a life of their own, and they get a momentum.
That's great.
Listen,
Yeah.
I think the typical human is right about 50% of the time. Okay, I thought ITC had plateaued off, and like, okay, that phenomenon is over. I was wrong. It's not over. It's picking up steam again because we're in phase 2, and we're figuring out, okay, this didn't work, but these things seem to work. Let's enhance and lean on that.
But we learn. And so when 5 years ago, when agents and brokers were going to get wiped out, we learned, and they learned, and technology learned that it wasn't as easy because everyone's been trying to kill them off forever. And now, and technology and the investors and the founders and the visionaries are learning too. And now we're seeing the evolution. I think it's a very sentient point, Nick, that you say it's 2.0. You know what? Let's hope we make it to 3.0, and we're still doing this in a few years.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It would.
Here in Vegas. The thing is once this conference is over, I almost need a year to recover.
That's what we actually said this morning. Right?
Exactly.
Tomorrow we go in training. For next year's ITC.
Yeah.
What training looks like, we don't know.
I thought I was in decent shape. No. Clearly not.
No.
You know, it gets to 11 o'clock at night. It's like, finet, right? Like, you know, so I think I get under the squat rack a little bit.
Well, I'm just going to move to Pacific time a week early, just so I time adjusted.
So you need to come here a week early.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, you got one time zone. I got 3
time
zones.
I got two.
Okay, so I'm Eastern.
Yeah,
and when it gets to 11 o'clock at night, that's 2 o'clock in the
I
morning.
know.
Oh yeah,
it's brutal.
Yeah,
it's brutal.
I'm gonna come out and live on the beach in LA for a bit. But there we go.
They're loving like how 3 old men are just like, it's late
11.
at
It's
11
late. It's late
at
11.
night.
We're done. Hey,
Okay,
Nick,
everyone.
thanks so much. This is a ton of fun.
Awesome, guys.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Good time.
Until
Here we
next
go.
year.
Until next year.
2020.
Thanks for listening to the Insurance Podcast, brought to you by First Insurance Funding of Canada, the innovator in insurance payments.